What's going on, class? Welcome to Firearms 101. Today we'll be talking about the nomenclature, or basically the parts of the firearm. So before we get started, we're going to check this firearm to make sure it's unloaded. Anytime you do any manipulations to a firearm, it should be done here in your workspace. The reason being is because you do not want to take your eyes off the threat. Once I put my head down and I'm manipulating that firearm down here, I lost sight of the threat, and that is something we never want to do. So starting here in my workspace, which is basically that invisible basketball-shaped sphere right here in front of you. Now, first thing I would do is hit the magazine release to remove the magazine. Next, I will rack the slide 3 times to ensure that that gun is empty. I will now lock the slide to the rear to ensure that gun is empty. Last but not least, we will physically look down that chamber and look down that magazine well to ensure that firearm is properly unloaded. Now that I've properly unloaded this firearm, we will get into the nomenclature, starting with the rear sights, which is here. Next will be your front sight. This is your slide. This is your barrel. This is your trigger guard, which protects the trigger. This is your trigger safety, that lever integrated into the trigger or incorporated in the trigger. This is your actual trigger. This is your magazine release. This here is your manual thumb safety. This is your slide stop. This is how you would physically lock that slide to the rear so you can properly check that chamber to ensure that it's empty. This is your takedown lever. This is your back strap. This is your front strap. And this whole piece here is your grip. The whole outline of what you hold in your hand will be considered the frame. Now moving along to the magazine. This is your magazine base plate. This is your magazine follower. Inside the magazine, there's a spring. Every time you load a round, it's under spring tension. That's what loads a round into the chamber every single time that slide goes to the rear and goes forward. Now, before we fill strip, we will once again just double check to make sure that there's no round in the chamber, and also look down that magazine well to make sure that the magazine is removed. Now we know for sure this firearm is safe and unloaded. While the slide is locked to the rear, or let's start from the beginning. Now with the slide to the forward position, we will now rack the slide and engage that slide stop. In order to lock the slide to the rear, while you're engaging that slide stop, you want to rack that slide. Do not remove your finger from the slide stop. If you do, the slide will go forward. Once the slide is locked in place, you can now remove your finger from the slide stop. Now, I will take the takedown lever and move it to the vertical position. Once I have done that, I will rack the slide to bring it back to the forward position. Now with the gun pointed in a safe direction, I will put my finger on the trigger and press the trigger. Once I press the trigger, the slide will come off. Now that everything has been removed, I want to check the slide for any abnormal wear or tear, looking for any cracks or bulges. Nothing looks out of place, so we're good. So now we will reassemble the firearm, starting with the slide. Once we take the barrel, we will put the barrel in the slide, just like that. Next, I will take my recoil spring. Notice your recoil spring has a plus side and a minus side, kind of like a battery. You would take that plus side that has the little bump and the flat side, which would be the minus. I will take that plus side and put it here. The recoil spring is under tension, so you will have to press it in to actually sit it onto the barrel. Once that is done, I will now grab my frame. Notice on your frame, you have 2 guide rails up front and 2 guide rails in the rear. Leaving the gun in a vertical position, I will start with the slide, coming straight down, catching those first 2 rails first, just like a choo-choo train. As I'm sliding back to the rear, I will keep coming back. Once I get the gun to the rear position, I will rack the slide 3 times. Now I can lock the slide to the rear. Now I will hit the slide and move it to the horizontal position. Now, once that slide goes forward, I want to rack the slide at least 3 times. Just like that. Now to do a function check of your firearm. The first thing I want to do if my gun has a manual thumb safety is engage that manual thumb safety. Once that manual thumb safety is engaged, I should not be able to press the trigger. So now, to function check my firearm, I will attempt to press the trigger in a safe direction. Notice the firing pin did not fall. Now, I will disengage my manual thumb safety, and now I will press the trigger. The hammer should fall, or the firing pin should fall at this time. Just like that. With my finger on the trigger, staying on the trigger in the full rear position, I want to rack the slide. Every time you rack the slide, it resets the trigger. Once the trigger is reset, I want to come out till I feel or hear the click, which is called my trigger reset. That is my trigger reset. Now, I want to do that again. Press the trigger, hold it to the rear, rack the slide, come out till I feel or hear that click, which is my trigger reset, and press the trigger again. Now my function check is complete, and my firearm is safe and ready to use. Okay, class, that concludes today's lesson on nomenclature. For your homework assignment, let me know in the comments, what did you find most challenging when disassembling your firearm? Or, if you don't have a firearm, let me know something that you learned today that you might not have known before today's class. And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. And as always, stay safe and blessings to you all.